Hello, my friends. I'm Nathan Liao. The website is watchmanscry.com. I'm happy to come before you once again. I was planning to do a show a few days ago, but then I started feeling a little under the weather, and then it got worse and worse, and this was about 4 or 5 days ago, and then finally I was feeling terrible, and so I asked my son to get me one of the tests to see if you have the plague, and it turns out that I have the plague once again. I don't know what this is, the second time, the third time, I've lost count. But I have it again, folks, and now I'm on day 4. I'm doing pretty good. I'm recovering okay. The intensity is not anywhere close to what it was when Allison and I had Delta. Folks, remember, Delta is the one that took our colleagues away, our brethren. And I still have it. I'm on day 4, but I have to get this program out, so I'm going to try my best. And folks, I have to talk about this topic. Now, before I get started, please make note that this is Watchman's Cry and this is what I do so that people can flee the stalemate of indecision. And here on these messages, that's what we talk about. So if you appreciate what we do, hold our hand as we do this together. Our address is Watchman's Cry, P.O. Box 157, Priest River, Idaho 83856. Or you can go to our website at watchmanscry.com and contact us there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a very serious topic today because the madness that we were expecting to happen at some point in the future has now arrived. And we are watching the beginning of the demise of the United States of America as a free republic. The United States is on its last breath. The eagle is dying. The freedoms that you hold dear have a limited number of days remaining, and chains are on their way. I'm saying this because Hitler Trump, the Antichrist, is projecting that he's going to bring civil war. A few days ago, Donald Trump was on the Hugh Hewitt radio show, and he said that if he is indicted, the people are not going to stand for it, and we're going to have big problems. And that was basically a call to arms. It was Donald Trump letting everybody know to get ready. It was Donald Trump letting everybody know that they are going to get to play with their weapons that they have been acquiring. Now watch this, folks. Here's the soundbite of what he said on the Hugh Hewitt show.
You know the old saying, a prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich if they want to. I'm just asking, if there is such a prosecutor and they indict you, would that deter you from running for president again?
I don't think the people of the United States would stand for it. And as you know, if a thing like that happened, I would have no prohibition against running. You know that. You've already.
I do. And that's what I want people to understand. That would not take you out of the arena.
It would not. But I think if it happened, I think you'd have problems in this country, the likes of which perhaps we've never seen before. I don't think the people of the United States would stand for it.
What kind of problems, Mr. President?
I think they'd have big problems. Big problems. I just don't think they'd stand for it. They will not sit still and stand for this ultimate of hoaxes.
How amazing is that, folks? That someone who is guilty of major crimes, felonies, crimes against the citizens of the U.S., how crazy is it that the guy doing it is claiming to be innocent? And he said he did nothing wrong. And instead of saying, well, I guess I'll just face the music because I did do something wrong, I shouldn't have taken the classified documents. No, that's not what he's saying. He's saying that people won't stand for it. So for Donald Trump, the rules don't apply to him. But it doesn't stop there because a few weeks ago, an individual named MAGA King Thanos posted on Twitter 2 words. He said, Civil War. That's all he said. And then Donald Trump took that tweet and then retweeted it, or on his social media platform, it's not called retweeting, it's called retruthing, which is a joke because his words are not true. His words are a bunch of lies, but he quote unquote retruthed that statement. The tweet from MAGA King Thanos, Civil War. In other words, Donald Trump is amplifying and establishing that war is coming and that he wants his supporters to get ready for war. And then, a few days ago, Trump had a rally in Jonestown, Ohio, and during this rally, he really turned on the satanic Jim Jones sauce that is likened to brainwashing. It's in front of all of us, folks. Look at this video right here. While Trump is talking, he played some melodic music in the background while he hypnotized the crowd. And while he was speaking to them, they began saluting him with their index finger which looks a lot like the Heil Hitler salute, but I guess in this case, they changed it up a little bit because they can't be copying Hitler. So instead of having all the fingers pointing straight out, they just pointed one straight out. But it's the same salute. It's the Heil Hitler / MAGA Trump salute to the Antichrist. Look at this crowd, folks. Now, the salute that they are doing comes from, of all things, Q-Anon. Because when Q-Anon was doing his thing during the Trump presidency, he would have his Q drops. But in order to hold on to those sheep of the MAGA fold, in order for Trump to hold on to them, he had to form a religion around them. And he had to have gimmicks and gestures and things to make them feel like they were a family or in a club. And they came up with the abbreviation, where we go one, we go all. You know, one, hold up one finger. So I guess amongst the crowd, they have their little alliance where if one goes, they all go. QAnon was talking about it then, and then Mike Flynn started promoting it. And just when we thought the air was getting clear of the poison and the madness and the idiocy and the stupidity of all this, just when we thought we were done and the nation was now going past it, no. Now there's a resurgence and a revival of this thing, even worse. It's even worse, folks. Look at this crowd. Where we go one, we go all. And Trump is now reinforcing that they are an army, that his supporters are a family, and his supporters need to stick together.
We are a nation that allowed Russia to devastate a country, Ukraine, killing hundreds of thousands of people, and it will only get worse. It would never have happened with me as your commander-in-chief, and for 4 long years, it didn't happen. We've got a federal Bureau of Investigation that won't allow bad election-changing facts to be presented to the public, where Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation when they knew it wasn't.
Folks, this has all of the makings of a cult. It has all the makings of a nationalistic fascist movement that breeds itself on violence. But it doesn't stop there. A few days before that, Trump released on his Truth Social a picture of himself with the Q logo, and then also under him it says, where we go one, we go all, and it played the music. So here we have the establishment that Trump is setting up, his little army of Trump fascists. And ladies and gentlemen, we have it before our face right now. We cannot ignore this. This is where America is headed, and this thing is not going to go away. Trump is rallying his soldiers. If there's an indictment, it's going to get ugly. When we have the midterm elections in a few weeks, it's going to get ugly because there's going to be people fighting it. How many of Trump's MAGA maniacs are running for office in the coming election? There's a few of them out there, and we're just watching this thing get started. This is too big for us to ignore. So on this program, we're going to talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. We must talk about this because aside from Trump just being an agitator or a little brat who never grew up, we're seeing something a lot worse. We are seeing the rise of the Antichrist. That's the only way that we can put this thing. Folks, we need to pay attention to what is happening before our eyes. And any Bible-believing Christian who has Jesus living inside of them, who has the Holy Ghost, who knows the Word, who knows what time it is, and who has discernment, you can see that this thing's messed up. This is a very dangerous development, and it's in our face right now. Folks, this thing's like a fuse, and the fuse is lit, and it's attached to a huge incendiary device, and it is a clear and present danger right now for everyone in America and even for everyone in the world. Because Donald Trump showed up as a Trojan horse a few years ago and snorted in the courtyard. It was obvious that it was a trick because he even told us. He told us that he was going to bore a hole into the discernment of Americans. You folks remember that? Remember when he said, I could stand in the middle of New York, Fifth Avenue, and shoot someone? And you remember that? That's like when Nikolai Carpathia was doing his thing in the Left Behind series by Tim LaHaye. You folks remember that character? He was the Antichrist, and he was able to do things in front of people, but he was able to hypnotize the others that were watching to not think that it was a bad thing. So he was able to control the thoughts and even brainwash people from seeing what he was actually doing. You know, folks, we need to really, really think about this. If we have an individual who shows up as a heroic politician and admits that he can destroy the moral fiber of his listening audience and his supporters, and if he's willing to admit that he can capsize their moral compass, what kind of person is Donald Trump to actually admit and brag that he could shoot someone and get away with it? Like that was a good thing. You know, folks, that is blatant, in our face evil, calling evil good and good evil. But he showed up. Trojan Donald showed up, and for many folks, he's extended his stay. Smart people out there have Trump fatigue. I have Trump fatigue. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of his bovine biomass. And those of you who are smart, you know what I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't say this enough. America is headed toward tyranny. It's headed toward a dictatorship. And Donald Trump is going to be the one at the helm. He is the one that wants to take us there. He is the one who wants this. He is behaving right now like Hitler in the late 1920s or the early 30s. Now, Hitler became chancellor in the election of Germany in late 32, and he was inaugurated in 33 at the beginning of the year, and then he started his rampage to destroy the earth at the time. But before he was elected, he was building his army of followers, and that's what Trump is doing right now. Trump is loading the bases, and he's now building siege work tools around the city. And there's an army of MAGA warriors who want blood. They're talking about blood. They're talking about revenge. They're talking about killing opposing politicians. Now, real quick, for those of you who might say, Nathan, we're not supposed to talk about politics in church. You're not supposed to. You should not do it. Let me answer with this, ladies and gentlemen. And if some of you might be thinking this, you say, man, every time I come to Nathan, he's talking about Trump. I wish he wouldn't talk about politics. I'm going to set him straight and write him and explain to him that he shouldn't do that. Well, if you happen to do that, you're going to be talking out of the mind of the flesh, because when we go to the book of Revelation and we look at Revelation, for those of you who have studied it and read it, the book of Revelation is the last book in the Bible, and it was authored by Jesus to John the Apostle, who took notes and was also given visions of what was going to come in the end time. Jesus said, John, write it down in a book. But Jesus also spoke to him, and John took notes. So the book of Revelation is the revelation of Jesus. It is him speaking to the church. And when we look at the content of Revelation, one of the biggest villains, the oppressive villains that's going to reap havoc on the whole earth, is the beast government, the beast kingdom that rises up in chapter 13. It says the beast rose from the sea, and for 3.5 years it's going to make war with the saints, and it's going to have the help of the second beast, a false prophet. When we look at those two beasts, creatures, ladies and gentlemen, the first beast is a kingdom. It's a beast government. It's a tyrannical worldwide dictatorship that is coming. That is politics. And when it talks about the little horn, boasting and bragging and making bodacious claims and doing all of the antics that we know he's going to do, the little horn, the son of perdition, that knucklehead, he is a king. He's a politician. The Bible warns us about him. When we go to Revelation chapter 17 and 18, it tells us about Babylon the Great, that kingdom that is evil, and it causes everyone to sin throughout the whole earth. That is a political entity. So for those who might say you're not supposed to talk about politics, folks, that's not what the Bible tells us. In the book of Daniel, chapter 7, Daniel tells us about the little horn that rises up, and he's pompous, he boasts, he blasphemes. So folks, politics is a biblical topic, because in order for Jesus to fulfill one of the titles that he carries, King of Kings, politics must be unseated. It must be dealt with, and that's what he's going to do when he comes back. So I have to talk about it as well. Jesus is coming back. He's on his way back. But before he gets here, the political giants of the earth at the time will have been given temporary status of authority to do their final assault against mankind. God's going to allow it. And while it's going on, the people of God, the church, the bride of Christ, who is trying to endure their attacks, must have the right strategy. The church must be able to navigate the end times through the gauntlet of fake politicians as well as the gauntlet of fake preachers and fake ministers and chaff. And sadly, the church doesn't understand this. They don't understand this dynamic. And because they don't understand the dynamic, or because they don't understand how to isolate a deceiver, they're going to be caught off guard and they're going to get deceived themselves. And lo and behold, that's what's happening now, folks. Because Jesus told us what to look for. He said to look at the fruit. The fruit doesn't lie. Good fruit does not come from a bad tree, and likewise, bad fruit doesn't come from a good tree. But the church doesn't get it. They don't understand. And they think that they're going to squeeze the bad tree of Donald Trump, the Trojan horse, and good fruit's going to come out of it. It never will, folks. Only pus is going to come out. Only vitriol is going to come out. Only poison. Only biomass. Only vomit. Only spiritual gall from hell is going to come out of Donald Trump. And the church, for some reason, doesn't mind the taste. That's what's amazing. The church doesn't mind taking drinks from the nectar of poison that comes from him. That's why I'm up here on the walls, because I have to point this mess out. So back to the clear and present danger that is before us. Donald Trump's method is to destroy everything in front of him. He's like a wrecking ball, but not a good one. And for all the conservatives who might have forgotten, we have been warned. For those of you who might remember the Illuminati, the Freemasons, the order out of chaos. Remember those YouTubes you watched about it 10 years ago about how the Freemasons want to bring about a plan to bring order out of chaos? But first they must burn it down. The phoenix must rise from their ashes. Well, where are the ashes going to come from, folks? It comes from chaos. And the Freemasons know this. Now, think about this. If they need order out of chaos, why is it that Donald Trump is the wrecking ball to bring chaos? Because he's doing that right now. He's reinforcing this fact with his people. He's letting everybody know who he is. He's letting everybody know that he wants to destroy the government of the United States from within. He wants to destroy the Department of Justice. He wants to defund the FBI. He wants to fire cabinet members. He wants to get rid of certain departments in the federal government. And some people will say, well, yeah, he wants to cut the budget, Nathan. That's what he's doing. He's doing budget cuts. No. Now, folks, make note. The Constitution of the United States establishes the way that our government will be formed. It will be a government that has a foundation of the Bill of Rights, freedom of the press, assembly, religion, speech, guns, etc. But one of them is the freedom of the press. And when communist dictators have taken over other countries in the past, one of the first things they did was destroy the trust of the press. They destroyed the press. Hitler did it as well. The free press is not allowed in a dictatorship. Now, why is it that when Donald Trump first got into office, one of the first things he did was he began to place doubt in the minds of everyone that all of the press was fake. All of the news is fake. Every bit of it. Doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter if they come from a small town. It doesn't matter if they are big guys. It doesn't matter. The news is fake. And that was always at the tip of everybody's tongue when they heard anything critical of Donald Trump. Well, it's fake news. It's fake news. Before Trojan Donald showed up, people didn't call all the news fake. But then when Trojan Donald started committing all of these sins against decency, when he started showing his corruption, when his corruption started coming forward in front of all of us, because that's the kind of guy he is. He is full of corruption. He's a mob boss. He's a mafioso, and he operates like a mob boss. So when he started being exposed, his strategy was to create a diversion. And the best one that he came up with was to cast doubt on the messengers of the press entirely. What Donald Trump has done now with this new way of thinking is to take away the sentinel, ladies and gentlemen, because that's what the press is. The free press is the sentinel against tyranny. The free press is the sentinel against dictatorship. It is the sentinel against authoritarian dictators acting like demagogues. Not all news is fake, but this is what Trump has done. He has destroyed the people's opinion or trust in the sentinel of the news. That's gone. Trump is a hatchet man, ladies and gentlemen. And when he's finished, it's going to be easy for him to become a dictator. Now, inside the government, we also have sentinels to keep the politicians from going rogue. And the sentinel that we have to protect from that is the Department of Justice, where the rule of law keeps everybody civilized. Now, some of you would say, well, why should we have that, Nathan? Why should we have law? Well, the opposite of that is chaos and anarchy, and that's what Satan has. That's what we have in Africa in those warlord countries. That's what we have in the banana republics down in South America. Rule of law keeps the cop from beating the person when he's arresting them. The rule of law protects you so that you are not kidnapped by a police officer or by the FBI or by anybody. The rule of law protects the citizens from the government. That's what it's about, folks. That's what the Constitution is about, to protect us from the government. And if someone wants to take over the government, the thing they have to do first is to get rid of the rule of law. And Donald Trump is doing that right now because he is attacking the Department of Justice. He's placing doubt in the law, and he's training the church to believe the same thing. Donald Trump has investigations against him in Florida, in Georgia, in D.C., in New York, in some circuit courts, in state courts, in federal court. Donald Trump has been busted, ladies and gentlemen. He's been busted as a Hitler in the making. And members of the U.S. government are seeing this now. In fact, there are members of the Republican Party who are now seeing this. And what I am telling you right now is not just my opinion, ladies and gentlemen. Trump is dismantling the government, and he plans to finish the job when he runs. Now, whether he makes it all the way to the election before they put him in there, I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be some crazy grab, if there's going to be a crazy government grab for him by his followers. I don't know. But he has already weaponized his followers. He is saying that if I am indicted, my people aren't going to stand for it. It's going to create problems. We're going to see some bad problems. He announced it. He said it. And that was a wink, wink, hint, hint to his followers. It's to his Proud Boys who he told to stand down once. But now they're ready and they're waiting. Sadly, there's a lot of folks who aren't using their brain and they're going to join into this madness. In other words, the rule of law applies to every citizen in the United States except Donald Trump, the king of the right-wing MAGA Church of America. Therefore, he can do whatever he wants. And that's what we're facing, ladies and gentlemen. He's made the threat. Some of his followers are already carrying out some crazy activity. What were once Trump followers have now become Trump recruits. And these recruits are the type of people who do not use their brain. A lot of them have less than normal intellect. A lot of them have room temperature IQ. They don't think for themselves. They don't think long term. They're not looking at the big picture. They have zero discernment. They have zero knowledge of history. They do not understand the nuts and bolts of how a dictatorship is born. They do not understand the previous revolutions of the past that did not go well, like the Bolshevik Revolution when Lenin took over Russia and made it communist. They don't get it. And now they're falling into the same trap. And so, ladies and gentlemen, in the coming months, it's going to get interesting. If Donald Trump is indicted and we start seeing people act out, what is that going to mean for us? What's it going to mean for you? What are you going to do? Are you going to join in to that stupidity? Are you going to join into that madness? Are you going to say, Nathan, it's our chance to be free now. It's our chance to overthrow all the evil. It's our chance to finally have our way and have our say. We're going to get rid of all the opposition and we're going to fix this country and make it right. Really, folks? In order to do that in the way that they're talking, that means that the Constitution needs to be butchered. It means that portions of the Constitution need to be eliminated, which would then mean that the United States, as we know it, would no longer exist. Now, Trojan Trump has revealed already, folks, that he's a maniac. He's revealed that he's delusional, that he's crazy, that he has no sense of reality. He's revealed who he really is. The things taking place right now with the classified documents and Donald Trump reveal that he is not a normal politician. It reveals that he's not a normal person. He's not a normal citizen. It reveals that he thinks he's above the law. No one can stand up to him. No one can tell him what to do. And if that's the case, that means that he can do whatever he wants to anybody. I'm not making it up. I'm not having to do any gymnastics to get there. If anyone wants to be mad at me for being the messenger, you want to shoot the messenger, I guess that's your choice, but it still doesn't address that Trojan Trump is making a poison-tipped arrow and shooting it into his crowd. I'm just pointing it out, folks. This is not a minor thing. We have big problems approaching, and they're not going away. Now, it's amazing, ladies and gentlemen, that the longer I observe Dungeon Donald, he's acting more and more like the Antichrist, like what we would expect from the little horn. Nathan, what do you mean? How do you know? Well, we do have the Bible, folks. We have the Bible, and when we go to Daniel 7, it mentions 4 great beasts in Daniel 7, which, by the way, is politics. But in Daniel chapter 7, verse 8, it says a little horn, or a little trumpet, a horn, trumpet, was speaking pompous words. Folks, that's what Donald Trump does. He speaks pompous words. This is talking about a politician speaking pompous words. That's what Trump does. He speaks pompous words. He's always bragging. He's always talking about how great he is. He's the most important. He's above the law, as we just shared, as we just said. But Daniel 7:8 says the little trumpet, horn, speaks pompous words. That's what he does. When we go to verse 21, Daniel 7:21, it says, I was watching till the same horn, the same trumpet, was making war against the saints and prevailing against them. How does he do that? Does that mean he's attacking them? Does that mean he kidnaps them one by one and pokes them with a cigarette and puts cigarettes out on them or something? Is that what it says? He tortures them, or he throws them into the ocean, or he throws them off cliffs? He makes war with them? It's not just by violent means that's obvious. Another way is he's doing it with spiritual warfare. He's doing it with spiritual war. He's making war with saints by getting them to lower their guard and thus accept evil. And that's what's happening now. Because the church who follows Trump, the church members who support him, are not being vigilant, and they're not guarding themselves over his tactics. That's why Jesus says we have to watch and pray. We have to watch, folks. If we're not watching, we're not going to notice. And a lot of folks haven't been watching, have they? They're not watching what time it is. They don't watch what is in front of us. They don't see the elephant in the room. They don't see what's in front of them in the news. In Daniel 7:25, it says he's pompous, and it says that he shall persecute the saints. He's pompous and will persecute the saints. How does he do that? That word for persecute means to wear out the saints. It means afflict them and wear them out, make them tired, make them fatigued. And isn't that going on right now, folks? Isn't he wearing out the saints at the moment? Again, this sounds like Donald Trump. When we go to the next chapter, Daniel 8:12, and ladies and gentlemen, this must be studied. This must be studied. But look what it says in 8:12. He cast truth to the ground and prospered. In other words, he's a liar. He's always lying. He throws it on the ground. He tramples it. But he still succeeds. We see that happening now. Trump admits that he did it. He admits he had the classified documents. But then he says, I did nothing wrong. When that's a lie. Yes, he did do something wrong. Every legal analyst in the country knows he did something wrong. Many sane-minded judges who have commented on this have stated that yes, he did do wrong. They're all saying he did wrong. It's obvious he did wrong. He took nuclear documents. He took classified documents, over 100 of them, when he didn't have the right to, and he does not have executive privilege because he's not the president anymore. But he's pompous about it, and he casts truth to the ground. Why does he get away with this, though? This is what makes no sense, folks. How? How is this possible? Well, here's how. The Bible tells us how, and it's told to us in Daniel 11:32. Daniel 11:32, folks. It's right there. This reveals it all. It says, those who act wickedly against the covenant, he shall corrupt with flattery. So what does that mean? Let's break it down. Those who act wickedly, in other words, those who behave in an evil manner against the covenant. The covenant, what's the covenant, folks? It's the covenant of his blood. It's the new covenant. It is the gospel. It's salvation through Jesus. It is the foundation of Christianity. Without that, we do not have a religion. I know that we don't like to call Christianity a religion. It's a relationship, but for the sake of explanation, without the covenant of Jesus, we have nothing, folks. We don't have anything. And we can pretty much kiss the spiritual journey goodbye because it doesn't exist without the covenant of his blood. And Daniel 11:32 says those who act wickedly against it. In other words, he's talking about Christians. The Christians who forsake the covenant, who take it lightly, who look at it blindly, who disrespect it, who do not understand their inheritance. In other words, the fake Christians, the people who do not understand what the gospel is about and they do not live it. In other words, they're chaff. They're hypocrites. They're false believers. They are those who are going to get bundled up and thrown into the fire. Those ones who act wickedly against the covenant, the little horn is going to corrupt by flattering them and telling them what they want to hear. This means that he's going to have a relationship with fake Christians. And if we were to study the antics of this guy, the little Trump, by the way, folks, what are the odds that the Bible calls him a little horn and he's pompous and he's a braggart and all of that? And then we have right now, before our eyes, a guy who's named Trump. He's a horn and he is a braggart and he's full of himself. What are the odds that the Bible tells us that? And then at the same time, we have this person on the world scene. What are the odds? This is not a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. This is why I continue to say that he's the number one candidate. Donald Trump is a clear and present danger, and we have to have our vigilance on right now, folks. It's not good the way this thing is developing, the way that he is unraveling society already, the way that he's getting people accustomed to the idea of civil war. So if he manages to get out of this, even if he's indicted, he still has to be able to run for president. Being indicted doesn't mean that he will not run and not win. So that's what I'm watching. Anyway, folks, this is what the message is. Again, I'm just the messenger. And this thing is not going to go away, so we can't pretend that it's going to. Folks, as you can see, I'm bringing things to the table that matter. I'm bringing things to the table that the body of Christ needs to understand and know about. So if you can see the value in this, hold our hand so that we can continue bringing you these messages. Our address is Watchman's Cry, P.O. Box 157, Priest River, Idaho 83856. Or you can go to our website at watchmanscry.com and contact us there. Also, there's a link below in the description where you can contact us and also bless us that way. Also, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so, and also hit the like button so that we can continue bringing these messages. All right, folks? So with that, stay vigilant, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.